Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 429. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra from beautiful Savage, Minnesota, who survived an air conditioning, fanless Mexican restaurant to say goodbye to a dear friend.
Oh my!
I survived.
You said goodbye. Did they? I mean, was it like Logan's Run, and then they went into Carolina and got exploded, or why?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't even like what was it? Running Man, what was Last Man Standing? Who survives the sweaty Mexican restaurant? No, it was a good friend of ours who she's an educator and she's moving to Chicago. So
gotcha.
It was a goodbye. So it was very nice.
We're having a Midwestern heat wave right now. That's a little cooler today, but oh my gosh, 90s. Now, is that what is? Maybe our guest will fill us in on what's going on the East Coast. So Todd, why don't you introduce?
And that was the voice of Charlie Carden. I didn't introduce him. So sorry, Charlie.
People know me, but yes.
No. Yes, and then Joe, Mr. Badbit, Moran, who loves old guys talking about weather. I think that's your favorite thing. From the PS Trophy Room, Joe, thank you for joining us.
It's currently 66 degrees.
What?
I tried to do my best Emperor Palpatine. It didn't work. I'm bad.
You sounded like it was like if Palpatine was an old like town sheriff or evil mayor. Yeah.
Well,
evil mayor
of a galaxy. But I'm doing great. The weather's been nuts because 1 minute it's like, it's 78. Next minute it's 66. Then on Friday it was literally 103 degrees.
We didn't get quite that hot here, but we were 90 flat. So today it's cooler. So get out of here and probably go for a nice walk or something. But anyway, we always kick the show off by talking about our MVPs, our top tier Patreon folks. These are the people that make it possible for us to bring you some great and new expanded content, as we have been doing since the beginning of the year. I'm talking, of course, on the Best Buds level about Jamie Prinky, and over on the BFFs level, the stellar Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry. Oh, that was a little bit more clever than I attributed myself to. Your friend and mine, Missy Merchant, and her friend Andy Milliken. We do appreciate you. And Todd, there's something new and exciting going on with Patreon right now. What's the deal?
Yes, everyone, hold on to your seats, your butts, whatever is secure. Patreon is now opened the doors to allow us to give people 1 week free trials, which is great. It's basically no risk unless you decide to stick around, which means you get more of our awesome content. So that's your risk, folks.
That's really no risk if you think it's
no risk at all. But I mean,
we're great.
The risk of greatness, take it. But you'll get all of our content, all of the great interviews, Charlie, you and your team have done. Joe, by the way, if you ever get a chance, because you're a Star Wars fan, we did an episode now with our free trial, by the way. Charlie and his team interviewed the puppeteer who did several Star Wars puppets in the original trilogy.
Yeah, great guy, older British gent, but sat down and chat with us. He was one of the team of puppeteers that operated Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. It was a very cool story.
The original Human Centipede.
Okay, moving on. Jeez, usually I'm the one who's being disgusting, but holy cow. Moving on, and Todd, like I said, I gotta hand it to you. These covers that you find for our We Got This Covered segment, it's a title I've never heard of, from February of 1960, and you'll see it there on in the screen if you're watching us on YouTube. 10 whole cents for issue 29 of House of Secrets. Subhead Queen of the Beasts, and you see a woman, dressed like Tarzan, with two creatures that I would flanked on her left and her right that I would describe as some kind of jellyfish-faced zebra with mohawks like a zebra, but ears like a rabbit, maybe. So anyway, she's simply saying, "Seize him! It's our enemy!" And it's some basic white dude in a shirt who says, "Elsa, what's happened to you? I'm your friend, Mark Merlin." Okay, that's helpful. That's
a very specific cover.
It's very
Mark Merlin. Like, we're supposed to know who Mark Merlin. Like, don't you know who I am? I'm Mark Merlin.
He pulled a total celebrity move. Like, do you know who the F I am? I'm Mark Merlin.
Yep. So
Oh.
before I go into this cover, I want Joe, because you know what? I'm assuming you've never seen this before, so it's not like you're the magician. I've never met you before. No, I'm going to tell everyone about you and reveal a secret. But I want you to reveal a secret about what you think of this House of Secrets 29.
This looks like, listen, kids, earmuffs. This could very easily be a porn parody of an actual Marvel, like a Marvel comic. You know?
All right, and it's DC, so they're throwing shade. Shots
They're
fired?
throwing a little shade because I'm really deeply disturbed by the half zebra, half man, half frog, half rabbit looking thing.
That's a lot of halves. Quarters,
Mr. T
fifths.
Mohawk.
Okay.
No halves, just full halves.
Okay.
And it disturbs me. Everything about this disturbs
Fair.
I definitely can tell you that Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird looked at this cover and said, you know what? I'm looking at that and I envision Rocksteady and Bebop.
Right. Oh, very good. Yeah. Without the cool shades, these guys are a little bit more unvarnished. Oh, you're right. I didn't even notice the web hand. So yeah, there's your frog bit. So yeah, this is nutty. So the less said about the better, but somebody who was around to pick this up off of your spinner rack, off of your newsstand back there early in 1960, that would be our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. Now, she was 60 years old at that time, still reading comics, probably so, because she was a top news scooper for generations before we and she was probably getting scoops for the Hearst publications when they started up. She's really a whiz. But anyway, she's down there at the corner of Hollywood and Vine waiting to enthrall us with all of the action of the news happening this week. So let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. As Charlie mentioned, your news reporting days. Charlie, I believe her first article was published when she was a mere 18 years old, when she was released from her labor contract with the railroads, was then offered a job at the, I believe it was the Poughkeepsie Turnpike. That was the name of the newspaper. Don't know why they picked it. Funny enough, still in publication, not bought by anyone or beaten by social media. So You go, Poughkeepsie Turnpike.
Not bad. That's not bad. I'm impressed. All right, what are we talking about this week? First up, we've got a program that I'm very familiar with, and this is
program. Are you
it's a program.
Are you 75 years old? Program.
It's a program on my radiola, my mimeograph.
Did you record it on your VCR back in the day?
I did, or a TiVo if you prefer to update. But no, I'm very familiar with Black Mirror. There's apparently a couple of really great spoofs out there, Star Trek related. Jesse Plemons, who plays in just about everything, and I watched him recently in something, starred in that segment that was the Star Trek spoof in one of the previous seasons. What about you guys? Are you Black Mirror watchers?
I am not. Unfortunately, I've watched a few episodes of Black Mirror. I get the hype. I totally get the hype. I might watch this just because Salma Hayek.
It's kind of Twilight Zone-y, isn't it? Where it's just it's vignettes, it's horror. Yeah,
it's modern sci-fi, typically with a black sense of humor, twinge.
Gotcha.
Very much aping what the Twilight Zone did, but definitely upping it with different elements. The episode you mentioned, Charlie, is called the USS Callister. That was, trying to look at the season it was actually in, but it's the only episode I've watched of Black Mirror. And the episode is phenomenal because they get great actors in these series, and they don't do a ton of episodes per season, but it's pretty amazing. And this is all about the trailer for this season, number 6, and they've got some big names. I mean, Salma Hayek is in one, and she's in an episode essentially where I'm blanking on her name, the woman, the daughter of Eugene Levy in Schitt's Creek.
Anne, is her name Anne in the show, or is her name Anne in real life? I can't remember.
Annie Murphy.
Annie Murphy, thank you. There we go.
Okay. So so they're basically kind of touching on each of the episodes that'll be out, kind of a little teaser. The one is Annie Murphy is sitting there watching a show on Netflix with her significant other. They said, oh, let's watch this show. It ends up being Salma Hayek has been hired to essentially play the woman who is watching the show in her life. So it's essentially like a weird flip flop of, and she's like, I didn't say it that way. And she's got the same hairstyle and everything. And it just shows like, it is called Joan is Awful. That's the one of the episodes.
Joan is, I knew it was somebody was awful. Yeah, but Joan.
Yep.
Joan is a great name. Just like Joan is just like one of those names. Yeah.
Joan.
Yeah. Michael Cera's also in that episode. So they've got some good stars. Yep. Loch Henry, essentially like almost like a Loch Ness type story with people I don't know of. Then we've got Beyond the Sea, an alternative 1969, two men on a perilous high-tech mission wrestle with the consequences of an unimaginable tragedy with Rory Culkin, Kate Mara, Josh Hartnett, Aaron Paul. That's the one where they're in outer space. It's almost like a...
that's right, Aaron Paul. Yeah.
Then Maisie Day, a troubled starlet is dogged by invasive paparazzi while dealing with the consequences of a hit-and-run accident. Zazie Beetz is in that, if you remember her. She played Domino. Yeah, Danny Ramirez is in that one.
Yeah.
And the last one they show is called Demon 79, and they said Red Mirror. So I'm not sure if they're differentiating like Black Mirror specifically, like science fiction, and Red Mirror is horror. So I'm not sure if that's what they're doing, but this is in Northern Ireland in 1979. A meek sales assistant is told she must commit terrible acts to prevent disaster. So probably more of a like when you see this Indian woman is choking a guy and she's having a big life-changing event, and don't know any of those actors as well. And Toby Haynes was the director, who's a pretty famous director as well. So I'm really impressed at the talent at this in the 6th season of a Netflix series.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So we get this. This is summertime viewing. What's the date on this?
I believe it's June. It's coming out this month.
Gotcha. And the segments are how long typically?
They even said a movie length. Like they almost said like these are movies. But
okay. So
I would imagine
really
an hour plus. Don't know much more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would be, and again, this is series 6, and this is are all the series about 5 segments, so you'd be able to jump in and catch up.
I think they're a little longer before, but I would say check out a list of like the best of. And like I said, if you're a science fiction fan, the USS Callister, if you've not watched it, it is fantastic. I thought it so great.
Nice.
They,
Cool.
They hooked me with Salma Hayek. I stay for Zazie Beetz.
I like
Joe,
it.
just let you know, though, Salma Hayek is now added on her new married name at the end.
Really?
Are you to ignore the married bits?
I am. Yeah, I will choose to ignore the married bits.
Yes, we don't need to hear about that. Let it go. Okay, moving on. We're kind of double dipping on this next one because our big topic of discussion will be Across the Spiderverse. Because we've all seen it. It's very exciting. It's the movie of the week. But Todd, Sony is already having some pretty sizable success coming back with some additional numbers that we're already getting just here on Sunday. So break it down.
Yeah. So surprisingly, for those people that don't realize this, Sony still controls Spider-Man on all facets on the silver screen. The TV screen's a little bit more nebulous, to be honest. It's a little funky. Video games, right now, Sony has the rights as well. So Spider-Man is a property that also has no home. There is no Sony streaming services. So Sony's actually playing the field, and actually they played it right because the streaming services right now are having a crisis of conscience. They're lacking talent. They're losing content. So Sony can make good stuff and then can get the highest paying bidder to show their stuff. So I think they're in a good position.
Sony is like your single friend who just walks on water, kind of goes from one to the next, as opposed to us married chumps who have to pay the bills. You know what I mean? Where Sony is just the belle of the ball out there being wined and dined.
Excluding Morbius and Venom, which Venom is like Venom is the Transformers of, I would say that, where it's like they make a crap ton of money, but they're not good. And then Morbius was like, meme city. Yeah.
No,
so
sir.
Joe, and I think I want to get to the heart of this story really quickly. Amy Pascal, she is like the Catherine Kennedy of Spider-Man. So kind of hated, reviled, but very successful. The fans are just not fans of either of them in a lot of ways. But she was at the carpet, the red carpet event in Los Angeles.
The carpet
event. I don't know. They changed the Oscars. It's now gold carpet. So I guess it's a carpet event. Pick your color, depending if it's at the cleaners getting done. But Amy Pascal was asked if we'd ever see a Spider-Woman or live action Miles Morales movies, and if they're in the works. She said, "It's all happening." And then producer Avi Arad, who actually was the guy behind the original Spider-Man films back when they first came out. He says, Spider-Woman movie is sooner than you expect, but I can't tell you yet, but it's coming. So this is not like your uncle's friend works at Sony that tells you the thing. This is not like your uncle at Nintendo. This is the people that control this franchise saying it's happening. And Sony is a publicly controlled company, so they can't just lie. Or they could, I guess, and then say, oh, that never worked out and whatever. But when we hear that, it just makes me one thing excited and one time worried, because I would say the only thing they've done great has been two animated films. Right. Outside of that, True. Nothing else has been great, because Marvel essentially has done all the production, the producing, the just everything else. But Sony just said, okay, you can do it. That's the only thing Sony did. So I am nervous that this could go terribly wrong. And we might regret. It's like the monkey paw, right? So this could be our monkey paw moment. Right. The Frogurt, the Frogurt. It's Frogurt. It's good. Right. But Exactly. The bit from The Simpsons. Yeah. So with that, I will turn it over to Joe. Joe, you are our Spider-Man ringer. We bring you in. I mean, Charlie is our Spider-Man mind trust, but you are our Spider-Man man on the street, with the ear to the ground, playing the games. What do you think of this?
I think so. You're right. Venom is dreadful. Morbius is
Morbid.
Downright.
Morbi? Is that a new term? We can just do it's Morbi.
Mighty Morbi Power Rangers. Yeah.
To the core, why did this thing exist?
Oh boy.
But I'm hoping that Sony takes the right lessons learned from the Spider-Verse movies and applies that to their live action. They see that they have something here, especially with Sony Animation. Their track record's pretty stellar. But like when you take a look at what Across the Spiderverse has done, it's beaten all the predictions so far, and then you get to what it's achieved artistically. I think Amy and team knows that there's something here that they have to tap into, because they saw what Morbius did.
Right.
And I think if they're smarter than hopefully smarter than I think they are, they realize the reason why Venom brings in the cash is because he's Venom. Those movies aren't great, but it's Venom, and we are dying to see anything Venom.
Right.
No, Joe, it's Venom from the awesome Eminem song.
Yeah.
Venom.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him. I'm Venom.
No, God, no. No, Marshall couldn't even save that.
Yeah, right.
So, to me, I'm hoping they take the right lessons here, apply them to a Spider-Woman, and apply them to a Miles Morales, because they mean something to a lot of people. So that's what I'm hoping they take from this, is like, hey, listen, there's genuinely two Spider people here that people seem to really love. That's Miles and Gwen, right? And we can make something special out of this. And at the same exact time, we could still use Peter for the MCU stuff, and we can have our spider people here. Right. And forget about the Venomverse, create a Spider-Verse.
Sure. Yes, the multiverse really does wash everybody's hands of everything, because in particular with Spider-Man, everything is its own canon, because there's 50 gajillion different universes, as you can see if you're watching YouTube. Todd's delightful background is the Web of Life, which we learned from the Spider-Verse comics. It's every spider totem in existence, not just Peter Parker, not just Miles Morales, not just Gwen. It's everything. So lots of possibilities.
Lots. And so that's what I'm hoping they take from this, because let's be honest, right? Let's not write off two good animated films. Those are also probably two of the best superhero movies.
Yeah.
Just at their core.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
And it's even something I think Marvel could even start taking some notes from.
Right.
Like Pixar could definitely take some notes. All their stuff, it's like, yeah, that's Pixar.
You know who took notes? On this? Of all the movies you thought, like, oh, that series even exists. Puss in Boots, the Last Wish movie, they changed their animation style, and they aped some things from Spider-Verse, and that's why people. And then I don't know, they just read it, and that movie did really well, and people loved it. They're like, the artwork's fantastic. It doesn't feel generic. It doesn't feel like we took Despicable Me and we made it a Mario movie, which I love the Mario movie, but man, that movie is about as it feels uninspired in the animation style. It aped it and did it well, but nothing about that movie felt like it was inspired by people that really wanted to really explore Mario, because Nintendo said you can't explore Mario because he has no story. We're not allowing you. So not a great partner, but they did enough to be one of the biggest movies of the year. This one's kind of exciting. And that is the only thing that would always say, I don't want Disney to take over Spider-Man. I want them to use Spider-Man, but not take it over, because it means that Disney is going to have their standard playbook, and we don't get shots. Like we don't get like big shots. Because if you don't take a big opportunity if you don't take those, you don't get those. And right now, I would love it if, and this is kind of crazy, man, talking, I would love it if Disney said, you know what, we are an animation studio let's give Sony Animation Studios and the right people, Lord and Miller, we're going to make Lord and Miller the head of Marvel Animation.
Oh, absolutely.
Whoa, boy. Man,
wouldn't that be amazing? And Lord and Miller have a fantastic track record, and they've nailed it so many different genres. The Lego movie, who thought that would work, right?
Right. Yeah. And there's such a great Lego component in this movie we're going to talk about. I'm so excited.
Yes. So much to say. We have so many Easter eggs in this, but I just thought this was interesting because I know people want to see Miles come to the stream, and he's a fantastic character. And even and it was funny, I saw this too on Stranger Things. The young black actor who's played one of the kids wants to be Miles Morales, and I'm like, that's not a bad idea. He is a good actor. But is he too much of a known quantity? I don't think, because he just has Stranger Things, and I don't know what Shameik Moore looks like. I don't know his physicality, his actual. Right. I mean, he's a good voice actor.
He could play the Prowler.
Oh, perhaps. Could he? Okay.
Yeah, he's
got it.
Yeah, he's older. Yeah, as I recall.
Okay, so there you go. So maybe he plays a character other than Miles, but we get somebody else. So this is really exciting, and I hope it turns out well. But I don't want to be hurt again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Spider-Man has Spider-Man, point to the doll where Spider-Man hurt you. It's happened to me as a lifelong fan. I totally agree. So, okay, well, let's move on to something that's somewhat tertiary to Spider-Man, but not really, but it does touch my other favorite Marvel hero. So, Amazing Spider-Man writer J. Michael Straczynski returning to Marvel for a new Captain America series this fall. Joe, as a long-term obvious comics Spider-Man reader, you're familiar with his run, which was in the early aughts. He wrote one of the really, I think, standout ones he wrote was the post 9/11 Spider-Man issue, which was amazing, so to speak. I hate to use that word, but it was just all that I could come up with. But yeah, his the big overshadowing of his great run was the much reviled One More Day saga, which broke apart blah 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 Peter and Mary Jane through Mephisto wanting, because their love was so pure, he had to have it, and so he made it so they were never married, and blah 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 blah. And
it's my favorite Spike Lee film. He gotta have it.
He gotta have it. Mo Betta Butta. So now Straczynski is looking to return to write for Captain America. I will admit I have not been a regular Captain America reader since probably the mid-aughts when the whole Winter Soldier thing came along. That was an amazing series. And was Mark Waid the writer of that? Or who did the whole Winter Soldier bit?
That was Ed Brubaker.
Ed Brubaker, thank you very much. That was, to me, the last, super groundbreaking thing that Captain America has done in comics. But yeah, this seems great. I ebb and flow with comics. I usually never follow something on a monthly basis. I'm back into reading Amazing Spider-Man right now, but I'm catching up on Marvel Unlimited, and I'll talk about that in the Geek Easy as well. But that still leaves me a couple of issues back because there's a 3-month lag. But I don't know, Todd, would this be? I mean, you have never been like a steady Eddie with Captain America, have you? But would this be something you'd check out?
And Charlie, I apologize, because when I saw this headline, I'm like, for some reason, I thought Mark Waid was doing this. So I'm like, oh, it's Mark Waid. I love him. He's a great writer. He's awesome. It's Michael Straczynski. I know
I don't know how any more clear it could be than the words Michael Straczynski.
I know. I don't know. My brain went that way. But yeah, and I do worry because he was very controversial on all of those things with Spider-Man, but he's done really good comic work elsewhere. He also created Babylon 5. So it's kind of a mix.
We're not talking about that.
No, we are not. But Captain America is a character just like Batman that I think you can do a lot with him, and has been done with him over time. He's been old, he's been young, he's been a werewolf. What else could you ask? Unless we're getting, he turns into a vampire, which he probably could.
Batman's been a vampire.
Based on this cover that we're seeing, if that's the inspiration, then maybe we're getting a look back at Cap's past, and maybe it's one of those series where it does a little bit of fast forward and fast back. Like he's inspired by things that happened to him in his past and they come to fruition. Like, everybody's got closets. Captain America's got a pretty big closet because his uniforms are so bulky. So there could be a lot of skeletons in the back. Maybe he's got a secret door that there's more skeletons behind. So I could see that work. And Straczynski is a good writer, and I would be curious, and obviously the artist Jesus Sayas. I looked at his art; he's been doing Doctor Strange. His art is phenomenal, so that makes me interested in this, especially as a character that is evergreen. They have to keep alive and make him do interesting things. This could be really good. So Marvel Unlimited is where I will check it out.
Good deal. I like it. How about you, Joey Jojo?
Man, I'm interested. I'm optimistic. I love me some Cap. So yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, good deal. All right, and we will see that I already closed the window. I think in August or September is when that's noted. So
if it's a submission, usually it's 3 months ahead, right?
Yeah,
with previews. Yeah,
exactly correct. So okay, Todd. It's so funny. This is a horror movie that is so widely regarded, but I didn't see it till I was an adult. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I saw it probably on Channel 50, Charlie, syndication. Like their horror or Count Scary came on. Maybe said, "Hey, it's the thing." Probably saw a heavily edited version, and then I finally saw the real version as probably a late high schooler, college kid. Joe, have you seen The Thing?
I have never, because it's a horror movie, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I don't mess with horror.
No, fair.
I'm starting to mess with horror. But this is one I think I saw like the end of it, like someone turns into something gross, and then
that's the whole movie.
Not it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I was like 7, so that scarred me for life.
Oh God,
so,
no. Okay,
no, this couldn't be me.
And it was remade in I think 2011. I think somebody came back.
Well, no, it wasn't remade. It was a prequel. So we've had.
But of course.
So we've actually. So The Thing was 1982. John Carpenter decided he was going to remake a movie from the 1950s. So 1950s had a mishmash of good and bad horror films. It was just kind of like cinema. It was that the drive-in movie was kind of thing. So he said, I want to make that, but basically he said, he's going to take it from a lens of who can you trust, kind of like the whole Cold War. And it's basically, it could be on the Mount Rushmore of science fiction horror. It's way up there, and known for its special effects that are practical. Stan Winston, it's amazing. You've probably seen clips from it, but there was a prequel in 2011 that came out. There's actually even a video game based on that. And that one used primarily SFX that were digital. And they came out years later to say, oh, we actually did it practically, but the studio said do it all digitally. So there actually is practical effects there that they could re-release the film, but apparently they haven't. But that movie was kind of forgotten, and it was more about building on the mythology of this alien creature that comes in and can ape any living species. And this movie, the way that I don't want to give anything with the way of Thing, because it is a classic, and I don't want to spoil the classic.
Highly recommend, without a doubt.
But the end of the movie is open to interpretation. Like, where is it going to? What could happen next? We don't know, and that's what makes it so good. Like your imagination will take you places. And
I think it ended with Keith David and then Kurt Russell as two of the characters that were present at the end of the film, and you don't know what happened to them. So yes, open to interpretation.
I don't know if that's a spoiler.
I mean, we also are talking about a 40-year-old movie, so I think it's okay. But yes.
And Joe's like, Joe's not making a decision. He's not our spoiler judge, so we'll go from there. But and with that,
judge, I'll allow it.
And John Carpenter hasn't made a thing since 2011. He's actually content to sit on his couch, so he'll smoke a lot of pot, play Destiny and other video games. And apparently, he directed a TV series remotely from his couch, was giving direction to performers and all these things in like Yugoslavia as they filmed a new TV series. So the dude's like, that's awesome. I love it. I like money. Money, please. That's his phrase. I'll do it, but let's talk money. So he's a realist, and he's a smart guy, very funny old guy. He kind of looks like a cranky prospector.
He's heard things about a Dead Space movie, so let's go.
Exactly. Right? That was the other thing. And he would have been perfect because Dead Space is highly inspired by the thing as well. And so he would just shoot this down, but he was on a con, and essentially the Texas Frightmare weekend, and he says, I don't know if there may be a thing too. That's typical, but he says, I've been sworn to secrecy. So I could see him maybe not direct it, but be a producer on the thing and do something new with the thing. If we know anything about horror films, they always come back, especially what we've seen lately. They make a lot of money, and a franchise with notoriety, it's silly to leave it there. And I don't know if anybody has the power to say we won't make it, because nobody owns the rights except, I believe, is it Universal maybe? I don't know. There's a studio who owns the rights, but the studio is definitely not one to say no. We have too much integrity that we won't make a movie for money.
Oh my goodness. Holy cow. Well, we will find out. But again, that's the most vaguest of the, well, I really can't say anything. So we'll find out. But one thing that's going to be on all of our radar, I would imagine, in the next 30 days, just in the next few weeks, is the final Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones 5, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But Todd, you gave us this article talking about Indy's last outing, which is very controversial. Controversial was 2008's Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And the focus of this article you've dropped on us is from executive producer / screenwriter George Lucas. Maybe you've heard of him, who was instrumental in creating the property. With George Lucas, very famously, if you don't know where it came from, in 1977, when Star Wars was going to come out, George was so riddled with anxiety, he said to his best buddy Spielberg, let's go to Hawaii on vacation just so I can chill out, because I don't want to be anywhere close to LA as my movie is dropping. Turned out to be the biggest film of all time at that time. And while they were hanging out on the beach building sandcastles and drinking Corona Light, they started to break the story of Indiana Jones, which we got in Raiders of the Lost Ark, which April and I just watched. We're doing a rewatch. We just finished watching that this morning, in 1981, which was a huge success and brought Harrison Ford into his other very famous role. But Todd, so this article from Den Geek is talking about how Lucas potentially envisioned a bigger extraterrestrial backdrop, which would have given us Indiana Jones and the Saucer Men from Mars. And oh my goodness, hello. It's Mr. Bigglesworth. If you're watching us on YouTube, I had turned away, but yes, Todd has given us his kitty creature. Meow, meow.
I don't know where the cat came from, quite honestly. That's the cat that nobody ever knows where the cat's at. I don't know. Trapped in a cave? I don't know. Yes. Tilly the Wonder Cat. Yes. I am assuming she is Spider Cat, but oh well. With that, yes. As the heading suggests, basically this story that we got from Den of Geek, George Lucas's original Indiana Jones 4 story was even worse than Crystal Skull. And then we go into it. As the heading suggests, there was once an intention by Lucas, as well as the screenwriter he tasked with the project, Jeb Stewart. Never trusted Jeb. Never trusted Jeb.
No,
folks.
not Jeb Bush.
Yeah, he wanted to turn Indiana Jones into a 1990s sci-fi spectacular that could have been comparable to Independence Day, particularly if Saucer Men from Mars had gone into production before Roland Emmerich's famous alien invasion flick. So thank you, Independence Day. You saved us.
Independence Day, it was a rah-rah grade of its time. It gave us, I think, one of the worst sequels of all time. And I talk about it frequently. But yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
Welcome to Earth.
Would Indiana Jones said, welcome to Earth?
I don't think he would have thrown in the F, but that's okay. Where do we all stand with Crystal Skull? For me, I was having this conversation with someone recently. My oldest son, Noah, was 8 when that movie came out, and he loved it. So I have the member berries. I've got the nostalgia goggles about it. Raiders of the Lost Ark is arguably my favorite film, though Endgame is pretty close of the Avengers movies. But they have the even odds, or they have the odds and evens with the Indiana Jones movie. So 1 and 3 are great. 2 is a little iffy. 4 is more than a little iffy. And now we're coming out with the 5th one. But where do we stand on the Crystal Skull, gents?
Joe, I think you're younger, so I don't even know cultural relevance for you with the Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
this is good.
Yeah.
Very big, because my father loved Indiana Jones. So that was one of the movies we bonded over.
Nice.
So yeah, no, like the first Indiana is great. Second's all right. Third one, okay. And then like that's where things get really sour. I actually like Indy 1 and 2. I don't like 3 at all.
Yeah. Okay.
And then 4 and soon to be 5. I'm excited to see 5.
Yeah.
I know that it's controversial already. Some of the early. It's very weird for Disney to go, hey, put out reviews of this movie that's a month away, and everybody's just like, it's all right.
That's helpful. All right.
Yeah. But at the same exact time, I don't hate Crystal Skull. I just feel like it's forgettable.
True.
Like, I watched it once or
fair.
twice, and I just forgot about it.
Right.
But I have a soft spot for Indy. So even like with the criticisms of 5, like the weird CG face thing that Lucas really wants to make a thing, or LucasArts really wants to make a thing.
Yeah.
Film, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just I'm open to see the 5th one, but the 4th one is just, again, forgettable. Here's my controversial statement, and I'm just gonna say it. All right. I'm not scared of saying it anymore. I would reboot it at this point. Give me a new Indy.
Yeah, I think that could be very healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, people get too keepish over this stuff. Like, Indy's a great like period piece. And listen, at the end of the day, just leave it alone. I get it, but this is Hollywood. Like, let's get real with ourselves here.
There is no leaving it alone in Hollywood.
There's never leaving it alone. If could be money on the table.
Right.
But like, yeah, let's see what someone else's vision, what someone else's Indy looks and sounds and feels like.
Right.
You know, a lot like, for example, like a lot of people with the Solo movies, like, this didn't need to happen. He's not Han, and then they're like, okay, so we'll keep Harrison Indy, and they're like, he's too old. The weird CG face. It's like, all right, so what do we do? Like, let's relax. So to me, I know it's a very controversial take of like, someone else could be Indy. He can, the hat could be passed down. The whip can be passed down.
It is like, just the hat. They've been doing it with James Bond for 60 years. Yeah. So they were
doing it with Matlock, the one franchise you can never replace someone. Ben Matlock replaced with an old white woman. Come on, Kathy Bates. Who are you?
I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's a real thing. Matlock is coming back, and Kathy Bates is playing Ben Matlock.
Oh my God, Benjamin. Wow. Yeah. I don't know, Todd. Okay, what about you?
Okay, so. I feel like the Indiana Jones trilogy that we got before, we had that long gap, had its ups and downs. The first movie is obviously a classic. The second movie I loved because it was the first Indiana Jones movie I saw at the theater. That was great. There was a little kid being in charge. There was like violence and stuff and crazy adventures, monkey brains. What else could you love than that? The Thuggy Warriors. There was a video game based on it that I could play at the arcade. Very, very cool. Then the third movie I thought was a kind of more return to form, but I could see then people feel like it was a little too emotional, like, oh, it's my dad and whatever. But I thought that was like a pretty
good
cool
arc,
trilogy. It's kind of like the exact opposite of Star Wars, where it's like, the original trilogy had like that arc in the middle. It's kind of like the exact op. So, so it is what it is. The fourth movie, it is of the time more so than the other movies. I felt like those other movies are kind of like timeless. The fourth one felt like it was like, oh, we've got technology we can use, and Lucas loves technology.
You're right, exactly.
And just like the prequels, I think this movie is the Crystal Skull is getting some of that. Well, it's my indie, so I'm gonna love it regardless of quality. True. It's nostalgia that puts that heartwarming feeling of when you watched it. rather than the quality of what it was. So it's hard to parse, but to me, there was just too many, like, it was a cookie cutter movie. It was like, oh, we got to have a happy ending. So here's Marion coming back and we're going to get married. It was just like, this movie had no edge to it.
Right.
It was bland.
It was blunted. It was a blunt edge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could not call it one thing that was like awesome in that movie that really stood out as like a high point. Whereas at least the prequels, you could say, well, Duel of the Fates, that's the high point, the music. Right. So with that movie, though, I mean, the only thing people keep calling out are the things that were just lame and can't believe they got in the movie.
The Shia swinging on the ropes with the monkeys.
Exactly.
Hell of fake CGI. Yeah. It's real bad.
To Joe's point, though, the worst thing that this movie can be is forgetful, not taking any risks, not really reaching, and just be kind of forgetful or do some things that just feel like of the time again. So I'm hoping it's better than that, but all the reviews we're hearing are from critics. And I think at this point, people don't always trust critics because it seems like the critics didn't love Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I had a hell of a time in that movie.
Totally.
And it was so weird. And it seemed like the audience liked it too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't always trust the people that are at Cannes. I mean, Cannes is not known for like, we love these fun, exciting movies. We want critically acclaimed, but we'll give everyone a 5-minute standing ovation, including Johnny Depp.
Right. Why not? Oh, my goodness. Well, crazy. We will find out about Dial of Destiny. Todd, I know that we're doing our spoiler cast a little bit later because we have a really super cool, I would even call him a celebrity guest who's going to be joining us for that one. So I'm kind of excited about that. But that will happen in a little later in July. We're
having the swordsman from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes, he got unshot. All right, but anyway, that is the end of the news. Todd, time to get out that Fuber, that feeble Uber app. It is time to get down to the nastiest place in town. Ooh, I can't put the new rhyme. I like that. Time to get down to the nastiest place in town. I am talking about the Geek Easy in Scuggsville. It's where we can talk about what we're enjoying this week. So let's go.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're setting the Geek Easy drinks report, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So with Joe, the man of the hour, oh my goodness, you're going to talk about a show that we've all watched and wept over.
Whoa, so much weapon.
Before we get into this, boys, let me get the tissues out here.
Oh, please. Yeah.
I've got a headband. Does that count? Put it across my nose.
Splash water in my face.
How many times did we each cry during the end of Ted Lasso?
It was at least for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I wasn't counting, but yeah, I think 5 or 6 is fair.
I was on my elliptical and doing exercising and watching like emotionally. I had to stop. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch the rest of this now because it doesn't work. Your body's like, I'm working out, but I'm like also like, oh my goodness, it's a bad situation.
The endorphins combining in. So, oh my gosh, and I'll say, if I might for a second, that this was a show. This was a show that I wholly Oh, stop it! I resisted the show, as I've said, for 3 years. I had extra. I had Mark up my butt about it. It's the greatest thing it's ever.
We were Game of Thrones behind Charlie as he walked through the streets naked, saying "Shame."
Right.
Shame.
And that was another show that it took me a long time to get into, Game of Thrones. But I digress. But I'll tell you, April and I finally gave this another shot about 2 or 3 months ago, and we were all the way into it. And so, and that's what we've been. We finished it strong, and then we got to this episode. Oh my God. But anyway, Joe, back to you. Sorry.
Yes. No, I mean, listen, no spoilers here. I want everybody to watch this show.
Please.
So I want to just talk about first off, they don't say they don't say this is the final season. They've never said it's the final season.
True.
But things are obviously changing in a really big ways. But if they wanted to end the show, this is how you do it.
Yep.
And it felt really, really powerful because the show is not about winning it all. The show is like, it's barely even a sports show at its heart. Like, I actually think this final episode is the most sports we actually see from it. And I think it's because this match has much more meaning to it. And its meaning isn't tied to a trophy. The meaning is it's tied to bettering yourself and bettering yourself and others through just sheer acts of kindness.
Yeah.
It really this show does a great job of just treat everybody good.
Yeah. Oh my
just
gosh.
treat everybody with a little bit of respect.
Be a Ted Lasso. Be the Ted Lasso you want to see in the world.
Be a goldfish.
Yeah.
And
be a goldfish.
Be a goldfish. And like, it's the one thing I will say, it's at the end of the show, it's not about him. And I think that is the most powerful thing, where a show is so good, you don't have a favorite character. You just have like each, like I got my best friend Amy into the show, and she's just like, I don't even know who my favorite character is. Like, they're all great. We're all rooting for them. They're all like, I think this show has done such a great job of, hey, here's this person that you hate, that's reviled, and we're going to make them so relatable and human that you can't help but to love them and root for them to change, and then watch them change and cheer for that.
Right.
Like, it does such a good job of like, no, there's really only one true villain here, and we're not going to tackle them with the way you think. There's a really good, I think season 3's episode, I think 2 or 3, they do a really awesome thing of like, this show is not going to end the way you think, because we're having this episode right here, right now. And so to me, everything about this season, though, I'll be honest, though not my favorite season, because there is some weird writing that just things happen via happenstance, I think, towards the end.
Sure.
But everything ties together so well in this finale that, it feels good.
Right.
So even though we're saying what could be our goodbyes, it still feels good.
It's very British in the way that if it ended now, that would be very British, because most of their series don't last unless it's like Upstairs, Downstairs, or the West Enders. I mean, those shows go on for like decades.
It's not forever, like the Simpsons.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, to that point, this was a weird season. I was talking to friends. We were out at the Mexican restaurant sweating to death, but having a good time recounting the season and how a lot of characters did get great arcs, and they could leave this alone. There was a lot of great moments that were touchstones to other things. There was certain, and that was a point of the show at the end. Can people really change? And that was brought up by one of the characters who's gone through a change and didn't realize it. He didn't think he had done that. And its point, because they did say they kept on going back and forth. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. And great, Beard talking about like things that are perfect. And I love that banter with Diamond Dogs. But there was one character I felt like he resisted. No, I'm not specific. I'm not saying names. I'll just say he resisted change. And because he resisted change, even though I thought he was going that way, he got comeuppance that he deserved. And I'm glad it happened that way, because I thought he was going in the right direction too, didn't. So I think that was perfect. And a caveat, the way this aligns up with real life, where Ted was missing his family and wants to.
And I really love that part where it's like, and there are some people that can't change, but how do we actually act to those people? Yeah. And I think one of the characters does it the absolute best.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And goes to show how brilliant the writing is for each one of these characters. Like, most people can change, but also most people are stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
Especially old folks. Yeah. Some old folks, and I just wanted to call it the reason why the show might be ending in its current form is because Jason Sudeikis, once again, Ted Lasso, who is missing his son away out of the country. Same thing for Jason Sudeikis. He just gone through a divorce with Olivia Wilde, and he wants to be back in the country with his kids. So it's very much real life acting. So, I don't know. I mean, with that, and Charlie, I don't want to cut you off from anything saying, but I think ultimately there was only one character I thought where, their arc in this last season, I felt was kind of crappy, and I wish it hadn't just gotten the moment it did in the show, because I felt like that was a miss. But everything else I thought was just really, really well done. And
the sudden switch.
Yeah.
If I'm alluding to it right, Todd, there was a sudden switch.
I think so, and I just felt like, okay, somebody obviously there could have been more time and effort and love given to that versus this didn't feel like it was coming from the same show, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair,
If it's a character that I'm thinking of, that's why I didn't like it. It's like the third to last episode. And I'm like, why did this happen?
Maybe.
And we're asking that same question, and we're just like, well, this is really sudden. And the change to me didn't make it made sense, but I don't think it was illustrated well.
Well, we'll have to talk about this after because I might be confused now because I think so, but I'm not 100% sure because some people have certain feelings about certain characters and alignments and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. But more to the point, it's awesome. I'm a convert of this. I didn't think I would be. But again, the best programs are about the characters and not about the subject matter. And so it's not like, oh, it's a sports show. And maybe initially in my mind, that's why I resisted it. But having gotten pulled in the way it is and just finding about all the beautiful, touching moments with the characters throughout is really what delivered. So anyway, Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso.
Is that how you pronounce that in Oklahoma?
Yeah. Ted Lasso, all episodes now streaming on Apple TV Plus, Apple Plus TV. Anyway, so hey, let's move.
Charlie, I was just going to ask the group really quick: if we don't get a fourth season, is there any character you would like to get a spinoff?
Roy and Jamie.
Yes, Roy.
They have a really good They have a really good chemistry. And I think there is one episode in particular with them where they're definitely floating the idea of this could be its own show.
Right.
There's a tea party scene where everyone's like, they're introducing something new.
And Roy is one of the writers, I believe, or producers on the show
really?
too.
I did not know.
And he's also producing the show Shrinking, which you should definitely watch.
So cool. I had no idea that was him. We haven't, Todd. Have you knocked that one out as well?
No, I'm on episode 4.
Okay, but well, yeah. So you're halfway because I believe it's a 10 episode season.
It deals with death. It deals with loss, but it's very good.
Exactly correct. All right, cool. Are
Charlie, what was your? My pick was Mace Bar. Bring it back to Cheers.
Oh, there you go. I liked, very much so. Pub. It was a pub, not a bar. All right, how are we handling the rest of this? We already talked that. Joe, are you touching on something else?
That's it. That's all I got. Ted Lassie.
All right. Turtler. So, well, I'll jump into talking about Apple TV Plus, another show. I hinted at this last week, and it's only 4 episodes in. So we were blasting through it as April and I usually do. We'll put something on. We're like, oh, cool, and it'll just roll the next episode. But I mentioned Platonic, which is the reteaming of Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne from what were those movies they did? Was it Neighbors or Bad Neighbors? Yeah. Which were silly. They were living next door to a frat house with Zac Efron. This was from maybe 10 years ago. Yep. But they it's set in LA. It's two platonic friends who've not spoken in many, many years, and Seth Rogen is going through a divorce. And the reason that his platonic best friend, who's played by Rose Byrne, really stopped hanging out with him is that Rose Byrne hated Seth's wife. So now that she's out of the picture, they start to become friends again, and they just go on to have a myriad of misadventures. And it's just it's outrageous, but it's filled with the exact same type of humor that you would really expect from anything that Seth is involved in. And this is definitely an improvement over the other Apple TV Plus show I was watching Rose Byrne in, which is Physical, which we enjoyed during the first season. It was dark. It gets way darker in the second season, and we just gave up on it. So I would recommend it. But we were blasting through. It's new on Wednesdays, and there are 4 episodes in of what I'm assuming is a 10 episode season. That just tends to be standard fare. So, you guys,
is it really a comedy or is it a little bit of dramedy?
I mean, it's not a silly sitcom-y kind of thing. There's always drama involved in some fashion, but that is really the focus. Because like the most recent episode, Rose decides to throw Seth's character a divorce party, which they do, and they go out, but it's divorce and drinking, and they end up in the bathroom stall doing cocaine, but it's played for laughs. If you can picture that.
I remember seeing that trailer. In the trailer. They showed that.
So I wouldn't say that there's terribly much dramatically involved, but it's about Rose Byrne and the fact that she's a lawyer who hasn't practiced law, but her husband just gets made partner at a firm, and how she's feeling marginalized, and so there's definitely that dramatic aspect to it. But so much of it is really played for laughs because it's It's some silly fun. With
So
cocaine.
next season they're going to basically become drug dealers. Like they're going to set up a lab and sell ephedrine and all these other things.
I mean, the format works without a doubt. So, and then real quick, I am continuing to read The Amazing Spider-Man, as I'd been mentioning. I'm caught up now to issue 20, and of course, issue 26, which we talked about last week, is the big death issue that we don't need to talk that much about. But reading along, I had talked about there was, the dark web one, which I wasn't super crazy about, and then they got into a couple of filler issues which had a different creative team. Zeb and JR stepped out, and we had Joe, are you also kind of current with your reading? Are you a regular reader?
Oh no, I am not a regular reader whatsoever.
Gotcha.
Super dyslexic, so I take my time.
I understand. Well, I mean, for me, I come back to Amazing Spider-Man about once a year, and then I'll blast out those 12 issues, and then I have to wait. This had a different creative team, and while the story was kind of fun because it was a spin on the Sinister Six, it was the Silicon Six. It had to do with 6 characters who were aping tech and selling tech in supervillain roles, and it was the Black Cat and Peter are currently involved in a relationship. While the story was great, the art was some of the worst that I've seen in a very long time. It was very unfinished. Like Peter
Al Milgrom came back.
Yeah, it was great. No, but like Peter was sitting at the dining room table with May, and it was a 2-shot. It was pulled out a little bit, and it was like a watercolor. May had no face. Like it was Peter talking to May, and it was so fuzzy that while she had a word bubble, no face. It was like it was like a Monet.
Is that better than like a hot Aunt May? Do we want a hot Aunt May in the comics?
Yeah, no face Aunt May. That's a different variety of it. So I don't know.
Butterface Aunt May? I don't know. Sorry.
Butterface. So anyway, I'm looking for an issue 20 just dropped, so I'm looking forward to getting into the next bracket of it, which obviously ends with the death issue that happens 6 issues from now. But anyway, obviously available on Marvel Unlimited. If you don't have Marvel Unlimited, we've had it for about a decade. I absolutely love it. Couldn't do without it. Just about most all of Marvel content is available there, and more is added all the time. So plug. Disney, send us some money. I'm plugging for you.
Money, please.
Money, please. All right, Todd, take us home.
So mine is definitely going to be the lightest of the things we've talked about, which is long time coming, essentially getting a prequel to Gremlins. This is Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai. It's on HBO Max. It's one of the originals. This was shown a couple of years ago. They were making this. It's animated, and it is essentially telling more about the Mogwai. It is set in 1920s.
Oh my!
They weren't specific about the country, but it is an Asian country, so I assume China, where it's really talking about it's a mission to get the Mogwai back to their homes after they were Gizmo actually is taken away by a giant bird. Okay. It's like no nefarious means, but then he gets hopped into kind of a situation where the Mogwai are at this point known to be mythical creatures, and everyone would like to own them. And so it's that type of situation. So it's kind of like it's starting very light. It's definitely feels like it's an all for, not just for kids. Feels like it's hitting on like those all ages, which is great. Animations, it's okay. It's a little washed out at times. It seems a little bit TV animation style. It's CGI, so it's not bad. It could be better. But the cast is pretty good. I mean, as I look at the cast, it's got a lot of famous Asian actors, which is great. So it's got BD Wong, who's been like the doctor in Law and Order, lots of different things. Ming-Na Wen, who actually just got a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She plays the mother. Then James Hong, who is, as my wife always points, my wife is Asian. Yeah. He is the old Asian guy you get to be in everything.
And he's from there in Minnesota, isn't he? Todd, he's in Twin Cities.
Exactly. And he has like the most, he has so many roles. I mean, he was in so many things. Don't want to talk about James Hong. He is fantastic. He already has his star on the Walk of Fame. But it's a lot of great voice acting and oh God, he's the guy that was on The Americans. Jamie, is it Rees?
Oh, Matt Rees.
He plays the bad guy. So good voice talent in this, and it is
awesome.
It's 22 minutes long. It's great for all ages, and it's basically going to teach me more about the Gremlins. I'm assuming I've told this story before, but Gremlins, when I watched it at the theater, my mom had to take me out because
Right.
I was so scared of what was going to happen to the professor or when they was experimenting on the gremlin. I'm like,
oh, that's right. Yeah,
I was like 9 years old at the time, so I was like,
the science teacher. Yeah, and I echo that with my ex-wife. Had to be carried screaming out of ET, and she was 6 years old. So kind of same thing. Yeah, traumatizing the kids. That was the 80s. That was the 80s.
So I'm confronting my fears by watching mogwai,
right.
Gremlins season mogwai.
Where do we find that? If we want to watch it,
Max has 4 episodes out so far.
Oh, it's on HBO Max. All right, cool. Well, all right. Well, that is the end of the Geek Easy. We time to pull out that Air Qantas app. The Land Down Under awaits with the mutants and Hologram Tina, so that we can talk about Across the Spiderverse. Let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a Top Gear game to be entertained, and this week we're talking Across the Spiderverse. This is our roundtable discussion of this movie, and there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, come back so we can have an unfettered discussion about all things we loved, we're confused by, and where our brain went when we were in the Spot's holes. So with that point, we are going to start with just the boilerplate pieces. What we always do is kind of break down kind of like who directed this thing, give the people their credit for where credit is due for making this awesome film. So it's directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, Justin K. Thompson, written by Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, David Callahan, and then produced by Avi Arad, Amy Pascal, Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Christina Steinberg. And this is where we get more into the beats, which is great because a lot of the roles were not shown with voices because there was a lot of cool cameos. So who at least was documented as having roles were Shameik Moore as our hero Miles, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen, Brian Tyree Henry as Captain. It's Captain Morales, right?
Yeah. Well, they
promoted.
Yeah. It's funny they go back and forth with the last name because I feel like in the first film, they didn't both have the same last name. Like he had a different last name. Help us out here, Joe.
Listen, old white man, he took his wife's name. Simple as that.
I wasn't sure.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. No,
absolutely.
We have couples friends that they have a hyphenated last name that's both of their last names, and then the kids have that as well. So know what?
A bit more progressive.
Bit more progressive than us Midwestern yokels.
That's
so
right.
Like the insurance company. Yes. Then Lauren Velez was playing Rio. Jake Johnson back as casual Spider-Man. Jason Schwartzman as the Spot. Issa Rae as Spider-Woman. Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk. I couldn't nail that. Who had that voice? Daniel Kaluuya, as we know from Get Out.
Because he's a Brit and he really turned it up to 11.
Mahershala Ali back in multiple iterations, which was cool, as the Prowler, and then Oscar Isaac as the wonderful
Miguel
Spider-Man 29. Yes, our favorite Latino Irishman.
Yes, exactly. In Nueva York in 2099.
Yep. Basically, this is a combination deal between Sony and Marvel Entertainment. Obviously, we know that. And then $100 million budget, which is crazy. This was done for $100 million. And currently at a box office of $208 million. The sequel to 2018's Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
So with that, this movie was a very long movie. It was like 2.5 hours.
Longest animated pick that I can think of off the top, but certainly for this brand, the genre, I think.
And I think this movie was originally, it was supposed to be just one film, and then they broke it up, and then we were getting Beyond the Spider-Verse, which was the only post-credit thing we got was Miles Morales will return in Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Right. And we sat there through the end of the credits, and then they turned the lights up, and I'm like, I swear I read that there was going to be something. But no, we stayed to the bitter end. There was nothing.
Beautiful. Those credits at the end were beautiful.
Yes. Beautiful.
I'm looking at when Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to bless us with its reappearance. If I can find it, if anyone knows, let me know. I think it's next year, but I could be wrong.
Yep, next year, March of next year, I believe.
Oh, very good.
That's awesome.
So
awesome.
so this is a Infinity War over to Endgame kind of scenario. Leave you hanging. So yeah, it was wild that it was that long. But I'll say right off the top, I don't feel like it was time wasted. I feel like there was 100% valuable, meaningful, well-paced story moving, through 2 hours and 31 minutes. So I got no qualms about that.
Yeah.
For me, I loved everything till the end. Actually, I think everything was paced really well until the end of the movie.
Turned into a cram fest, where they set up. It was I wasn't even really considering
like
the fact that it was
30 minutes of setup. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it can end right here. It can end right here. It can end right here. It can. Okay, we're still going. We're still going. Yeah.
Keep digging. Right.
Yeah. I didn't feel it was too bad, and I'm glad that everything was in the film. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to save a cool plot point for the after credits. I just feel like that's gotten old hat a little bit. So it does kind of leave everything on the table saying, get ready. And I appreciate that, but I could see where like certain scenes, and maybe that's a good transition. So Charlie, if you want to set up and kick off kind of like the main story beats, so we can maybe, as you talk through that, we'll think about, oh yeah, that part, that was cool. Or this part, oh, remember when that happened? Yeah.
Right. Absolutely correct. So a little bit over a year and a half has gone by, and we're looking at the life of Miles Morales on Earth 1610. He reminisces very fondly about his friends, including Gwen.
Glenn?
Gwen? Yes, Glenn.
Glenn was probably there. Glenn Stacy is probably in Earth 2062.
There you go. That's the one. She's just very good. But yes, thinking about his love for Gwen and going about his regular life. Then we see the film does actually start with Gwen on Earth 65, really wrapped up in her kind of pain and anguish from also being separated from Miles, thinking about her past as not being able to save her friend Peter Parker, who was actually voiced by Jack Quaid, which I didn't know. Jack Quaid of Lower Decks fame. Star Trek.
Which version?
Boys?
He was the Peter Parker of Earth 65 that became the Lizard.
Yeah.
So the Gwen's best friend. Yes. Okay.
Exactly. So she's reeling from that. And you do see bringing in the fact that she's a drummer in the Mary Janes. That actually came from her own title. But she is subsequently approached by in repelling attack from the character, the evil villain, the Vulture, from basically a Leonardo da Vinci past world,
Da Vinci verse.
The Da Vinci verse that he gets spit into. That was actually voiced by Jorm from The Lonely Island, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Jorm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love that art style too they had with it. It just couldn't. It was very paper craft. That was so cool.
That was wild, and we do see a little bit more of that kind of style when we talk to Spider-Punk later in the movie. So from there, because this is an incursion, we get a couple of other spiders showing up, including Jess Drew as the very pregnant Spider Woman of her Earth, and then of course Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man of 2099. They are the vanguard of an elite group of spider totems. Now, you're obviously familiar with everything in the Spider-Verse. Every Earth out there in the multi-dimension has a spider totem that is the protector of that world, which is really what ultimately drives the plot of this film. They end up recruiting Gwen, and Gwen in time uses her time-space trajector thingy to go visit Miles, and they rekindle their friendship. But all is not well in the, and I feel like I'm spinning. All is not well within the Spider-Verse. We end up getting pulled into various he follows her into an incursion to stop the Spot, who is a classic character from 1980s Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man title, who is typical super villain origin. He was blasted in a lab experiment, in this case the collider that ended the first film and created everything, but he's finding that he can use his power of transdimensional pop throughs to build his power base, and this is something that the spiders have to stop. And Miles tags along. He's not supposed to. And throughout the film, going back and forth, we do find out that Miles Morales is not supposed to be the spider of his world, because his spider was from Earth? Help me out.
42, and I don't believe it.
You don't believe it? We will find out. But at any rate,
42 is the answer to everything, right?
I guess
From
because
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, there you go. But yes, Miguel O'Hara is on Nueva York and Spider-Man 2099. He does reveal to Miles that he was the incursion that caused Earth 42 to not have a hero, which ultimately led to the death of Miles's father on that world. And as we find out in the conclusion of the film, Miles becoming a supervillain. And that's our big conclusion, where we see our Miles face to face with the Miles of that world. So throughout all of this, we do get to see characters from the first film. And at the very parting shot, we get back the characters that we didn't see in this film, Spider-Ham and Spider-Noir. And we do get a cameo from Penny Parker. But yes, this was left on a big old cliffhanger, leading us to Beyond the Spider-Verse, which we'll see next March. So
quick question, Charlie. Spider-Man 2099, that was obviously one of the first forays, or one of the many forays into Marvel expanding into a 2099, kind of the Ultimates, kind of like new universe. Miguel O'Hara, he was shown shooting something up. What was that? I don't remember.
Shooting something. Well,
remember the green goo he put into his... Am I the only one that remembered that part?
I'm not recalling. Yeah. So green goo that should and again, I'm not steeped in that character. Spider-Man 2099, that comic came out in 1992 or 1993. I dabbled with it, but ultimately didn't really follow it very closely. It wasn't a character I was too nutty about. But yeah,
Alchemax was the company that gave him his power, so they nailed that.
Yeah, that's where Alchemax came from, which is obviously that's a driving evil corporation in this film. Yeah. So anyway, so we're left with the fact that Miles is feels betrayed, but
I found it. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The drug that was created is called Rapture, and that's not a spider. That's what gave Miguel O'Hara his spider powers.
That's what I thought. Yeah, so he is an artificial spider, which is interesting to see if they work that into how they really work that into the next film. Because and why is he in charge? I'd like to find out.
He's 50% spider DNA. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that's interesting. But holy cow, so we find it's Nueva York on his Earth in the year 2099. That is basically, if you adapt it from the comics, and what you see behind Todd is the web of destiny. The way that all spider totems travel throughout the multiverse, basically in kind of a quantum leap time police kind of thing, to fix things that are wrong and to stop incursions into other worlds of things that aren't supposed to be happening. We're introduced through Miguel O'Hara to the canon. What is it? What was the expression that they used to talk about the canon?
Every universe or pocket has a canon, just like the comics, right?
Right.
And if you alter the canon, it destroys essentially that corner of the Spider-Verse.
No, there was an expression they were using, which is escaping me right now. But in multiple canons, Uncle Ben has to die, or Gwen has to die, or
Captain
Peter has to die, or a captain, which is what sends Miles on a wild quest to save his father. But unfortunately, Miles gets dumped on Earth 42, and he's not supposed to be there, which is why he's glitching. So his powers are failing him, and he's able to easily be captured. And back on his, it was told that the Peter Parker of 1610 would have survived if Miles hadn't got his powers, but already I can tell Joe doesn't believe it.
No. I'm reading what the injection was. That helps him maintain his powers.
Gotcha. So he's So anyway, those are that's the framework of the basics, and let's hear from Joe.
A lot happens in this movie. Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite comic book movie. It's my favorite movie of all time.
Fair.
I have a whole bunch of love for this film, and the sequel I knew was going to be stellar on that same level. I didn't when I saw the reviews being as glowing as they were, I was like, this is not a surprise. Mm-hmm. It just kind of felt like they gave the crew more cash and more time to just make this thing right, which is the right call, and just trusted their vision. And I love what I think like Phil Lord said. He's like, we didn't just we didn't just have like this one idea and people had to stick with it. This is like something along the lines of like, this is thousands of people's ideas, thoughtful ideas into this project, where like they really let the artists do what they, not to say want, because that seems like too much freedom, but really express themselves with each cell of this film, and it shows. This film's a lot of setup, and it sounds, when Charlie lays it out, like there's not much that happens here, but there's so much that really happens here, and a lot of turmoil, both internally and just on display for Miles to kind of go through. I love the theory that this movie kind of tries to break down, that it kind of tries to re-examine the role of Spider-Man. Does loss truly define you being a good person? Does an Uncle Ben have to die in order for you to be and do good things and be your best self? And Miles's argument is no. No one has to die. You could just go ahead and do the good thing because it's the good thing to do.
Right. Because you're a hero. You don't need the I have to avenge, or I have to make right what
There's
was wrong.
There's no hanging guilt. Like guilt doesn't need to be associated with good deeds. At the same exact time, it's more complex because Miles doesn't want his parents to die, obviously.
Right.
And so he's going to try his best to save them, because if there's an opportunity for them to be saved, he's going to do it.
Right.
And the whole Spider Society's thing is these canon events, or what would they call them in the MCU? The variant events or whatever happens. Like, these things are meant to happen. They're meant to go a certain way. And if you break that canon event, theoretically, that universe will cease to exist. It implodes. So Miguel's argument is, hey, you're going to let one person's life be, one person or billions of people. You get to decide.
Right.
And Miles is like, yeah, and I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a slippery.
I'm not dictated by these.
Right.
Events.
It's like a slippery slope, because then it's like, well, you could get paralyzed by decisions then. Well, how do I know that's not supposed to happen? How do I know that? I mean, so then it's like, then does he even do anything?
And
analysis paralysis. That's what you're talking about.
And, in between of all that, you have some of the, I think, most brilliant shots of just animation.
Yep.
And just like, there's one, I saw this one tweet. I loved it. It's where Gwen, she's on one of like the gargoyle like statue things, and like, just standing above a tower. She's tying her hair up. I'm like, why is she tying her hair up? And she's walking around, and the camera pans, and she's walking across the pillar. She's actually sitting right, like she's sitting where like you would fall off. You know what I mean? So like she's sitting upside down. It's like, oh wow, that's brilliant.
She shot her webs to pull herself because the magnetic flux, which gives the spider person their adhesion, has to be as close to bare skin as possible, which they kind of violate that in this, because Gwen runs around with shoes, and Spider-Man can't wear shoes and stick to walls. That violates Spider-Man.
Wait, Miles can't wear his Jordan Mach 5s, and come on.
He's not supposed to, no, because the whole thing is that really it was even illustrated with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Now he has the little fine hairs. They zoom in at one point, these little fine hairs on his fingers.
It's like not being able to touch your screen on your phone with gloves.
That's the exact same thing. You got it. So that was the big canon violation for me, is that people can't be wearing shoes and wall crawling.
But for me, it's just every scene was shot brilliantly. Every main spider person had their role to play, and they played it really well. Like you saw a Spider-Man without depression. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like everything just kind of goes swimmingly for them. I absolutely loved that. And then, you had Spider-Punk, which is just an anarchist. He's awesome, but I can't understand a word he's fucking saying.
I know. You can't even wait until you can finally watch it on video with the captions, right? Yeah.
And then we got Miguel, who is this flawed version of Spider-Man,
right?
Who feels like he has the weight of this responsibility on his shoulders,
right?
Of whom his guilt hangs on him more than I think the rest. And I think that's because Miguel, and we're getting into spoilers. I could spoil stuff.
Oh,
That's what we're talking about.
Miguel's the one that killed his Spider-Man.
Oh,
Miguel lost his family, couldn't hang on to that guilt. So he goes into a universe where his family is still alive and kills that Spider-Man and causes that canon event to break that universe.
Wow. And so
that's where my theory is.
The
so
sequel will bring it all the way back around where that's exposed and Miguel is essentially dethroned. The other spiders turn against him. That's kind of what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think actually that version of Spider-Man in that universe is supposed to die. And Miles is supposed to be bit by the spider.
So building on that, we essentially got the Spot who started off as kind of a goof. And I love that opening sequence. So funny, so goofy. I loved how they played that. And then as the Spot, as you see him grow and what he learns, I mean, God almighty, he almost looks like, what was that like meme from like 10 years ago from... Is it the Tall Man or whatever that was like in that video game?
Slender Man.
Yeah. He's almost like Slender Man. So creepy. So I'm like, I love how they did that because it made it feel like he has now kind of lost his mind and he's got a plan to do something. And we were largely introduced in him, and it wasn't overstuffed of like him. It was he is in the background kind of doing his thing. We don't have to focus on him, which allows all these other pieces to play, which is ultimately almost always the downfall of too many villains and things like that. So I'm glad that it happened. Now, I don't know, to your point, Joe, then if we've got Miguel will continue to be, because Miguel was the primary threat in this film. Is it going, I mean, we may see the shift, or is once again the Spot just almost like uncontrollable force of nature where there's really no reasoning. It is what it is, and Miguel will still be that thing.
I think Miguel's the true villain. The Spot is... The Spot is the thing that's happening, the impending doom.
The beast,
the Twister.
He's the
Twister.
Yeah. And so who's the cow if he's the Twister? Never mind.
It's got to be Spider Ham. Yeah, Spider Ham. Oh, Spider Cow. Have we been introduced to Spider Cow?
We've got a. Well, I mean, we know we have a Spider Horse because that's one of our featured.
But that's my theory right now. It's like, Miguel's that. Okay. Because Miguel just goes, oh yeah, and then that Peter died. Oh well. It's like, whoa,
exactly.
We were brushing it off there, bud. So to me, I think there are events that change the universe that shouldn't be happening or shouldn't happen. I think that is when an outside force comes in and manipulates something in order to make something happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, I loved this film. I loved it so much. It brought me back to like when I was first watching the first movie. Yeah. And just getting lost and just being happy. Like pure joy. Like you could see like so many of these so many movies, you could tell like this is by the numbers in some sort of way. Some executive decision. You could kind of see it, right?
Sure.
This just felt like this was a passion. This was a love. This needed to be shown. And to me, it was a stellar sequel to an already stellar original, of which I still prefer the original over this. I don't like the end of this movie, where it does feel like it's like 20, 30 minutes of pure setup. I'm like, okay, are we going to get something else? And then it's like,
nope.
A very sudden to be continued. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. The last certainly 5 minutes is that even if you were walking into this not thinking about it being a sequel, you were like, oh, like I even glanced at my watch and I knew, hey, this thing is supposed to be over in 10 minutes. That's when I really figured out that they were winding it down to that.
I believe this was originally called Across the Spiderverse Part 1.
We talked about that, Todd. Yeah. They wanted they walked that back because they didn't want to set it up as like, oh God, like
Infinity War 1 and 2. They didn't want to do that.
Yeah, they didn't want to obviously run the risk of someone saying, well, I don't really want to go see a cliffhanger movie. So
I don't need to see part 1 because I'll just see part 2.
Yeah, I'll see part 1 and part 2 at the same time. So
yeah. I was going to say, to your point, Joe, having a lot of collective creative discussions and decisions made in this movie I'm really surprised this actually was able to happen. I've not seen a movie with 3 directors. I don't know how that works. Who gets to make the call? I mean, is it like rock, paper, scissors? That's why you need 3?
I mean, yeah, or how do you break the movie into, thirds, first, second, third act, and do teams do it, but then how do they bring it all together? I mean, I didn't feel like they did a poor job of that. If that actually is the case, it did feel very cohesive.
It didn't feel like disparate visions. It felt like cohesive, and maybe it was like one person's really focused on the style and the animation styles.
The background.
One's focused on kind of like more of the story discussion and performances. Maybe one's focused on kind of like the overall, hey, I'm just going to make sure these pieces come together and I work really well with these people. Continuity. And we're handing them the keys. So I think the fact that we had this many creative voices.
Cooks in the kitchen, and it somehow still came out good.
Exactly. You didn't hear anything about this movie. Oh, well, this writer was let go, or this person left. It's being rewritten for the 18th time,
right?
Which is amazing.
Which is funny because we're talking about Lord Miller, and that's exactly what happened to them.
Solo,
Oh, okay. So let's, guys, let's start to wind this down. Todd, do you think it makes sense to go through and pick a favorite weird spider that was your number one choice, or maybe a couple?
Well, that was the thing, because we had our core Spideys, but then we got little odds and ends, and there's an article from Polygon of kind of like the Spider-Men shown or Spider People shown, and there was a bunch that was just like eye candy. So you'll get when it comes out in 4K, you'll pause and say, oh, that guy's in there, that guy's in there. Yeah. But then we had some characters that came in and made a larger role. So of the core team, one of the first places we met was, and probably my favorite had to be, and I have to make sure I spell it right or pronounce it right, Pavatir Prabhakar from was it Mumbai Hatton?
Mumbattan or whatever. Basically, Mumbai Manhattan. Yes.
I don't know who did the voice, but this character,
taxi driver from Deadpool, baby.
Exactly.
Really?
That was him.
Our favorite.
I had to look it up. He was also from Betas, which was a less successful version of Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My favorite Spidey, every time he spoke, he was just it's like he's the Spider-Man that hasn't had tragedy. So he's the reason why you want him. He's cheery. He's happy. And his jokes and his banter and just the world he lived in was amazing. I love him, and I'm so glad. And he originally, Charlie, made his first appearance in Spider-Man India #1 in 2004.
I remember. I've got two. I've got a tie. I've got an obvious one, and then I've got one that harkens back to my love for the person who voiced it. We got Ben Reilly / the Scarlet Spider from the 1990s Clone Saga, voiced by Andy Samberg.
I love that art style, Charlie. That was they nailed the comic Mark Bagley art style so well.
Which is Mark Bagley is a thorn in Todd's side. He talks about his dislike. And then I, of course, loved, and I feel I'm bummed that we didn't get more of it, the intrusion into the Lego world. I loved that in particular because I love it how Peter Parker's inside the Daily Bugle and he runs into the cloakroom, and then in order to change, he just raises his hand and he's the Spider-Man Lego figure. So but he's part of the team that we don't end up seeing him again. So I hope we get him back. But much wackier ones: the monkey, the cat, the cowboy with the horse. Yeah. So Joe, what about you? Favorite couple spiders?
Oh my God! I mean, there's an Easter egg I loved, and why am I forgetting his name? But we see the Prowler.
He actually is. Donald Glover. There you go. Yeah, from
the original voice of Miles.
Homecoming. Yeah, exactly.
And we see him being captured in live action form, which gave me like Who Framed Roger Rabbit vibes, and I just loved it so much. The Ben Reilly one I absolutely loved. I love the art style. Yeah, I love Andy Samberg, man. So
oh my God, big time.
Just crushed it. There were so many awesome moments. Insomniac Spider-Man being in there, them actually playing Spider-Man 2 on PS5.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I did see him in there. We got. I'm just skimming through this list. We did get Spinneret, that is Mary Jane in a red and white costume. Spider Bite is the holographic female Spider Woman, and
wearing an Oculus Quest.
There was the super obvious gag of the 1967 Spider-Man, them all pointing at each other, and that came from the trailer.
Yep.
So it was an obvious gag, but it was still fun. I still
Parked
chuckled. It
car.
was fun.
I loved that Peter parked car. That was so good.
Right, and he's the spider buggy. I remember, Todd. I remember reading this and sending you snapshots about a year or so ago.
I know.
It was so adorable.
Yeah. I did love how they brought in all of the live action as part of the Spider-Verse. They had clips from every Spider-Man film, Uncle Ben, and that was really great, because then it just says Sony's allowed to do certain things that does the Marvel constraints don't restrict them, which is amazing.
Excellent point. Spider-Man. And my wife made this a couple of times. Sony, because of lack of dizziness, was able to have a Black Lives Matter patch on Miles's backpack. He was able to have Protect Trans Lives poster in his bedroom. You know what I mean? Things that
got me so mad. I went to my nearest Target and I just started hooping and hollering.
You just set things on fire. We won't get too much into that, but it is great to see a real representation, because things that are in real life, and that Sony's not afraid of it. So good for you, Sony.
What about Spider-Man 69, the cartoon from the 60s?
67.
Dude, I loved it. He's right about to kick Miles, but because he's 2D, he misses.
Oh my
God.
Flat Man.
That is brilliant. That was so right. The animation work on all these Spider people are just incredible. Like Spider-Punk, right? Dude, his art style, there's different parts of him that's
he's a zine. He's a zine. He's cut out from a zine from 1991.
Right. He's the crazy letters that the kidnapper sends you. All the different letters.
Exactly.
Because he's an anarchist. He doesn't follow the rules. So why wouldn't he be all out of line?
Dude,
yeah.
Oh my goodness. He was awesome.
Yep. Yeah. One last note, Charlie, and I think you'll like this because you're an old school comic book fan like I am. The fact that they used, and I couldn't remember if they did in the first movie, but they used an abundance of editor notes. So
yes, I said that to April as we were watching it. So a little square box at the bottom with an asterisk that says, or something that important that he said that got a caption at the bottom. So that was great. Yeah. So all right, let's give it a rating. 9 out of 10. That's another one I didn't. Spider-Man. He was the Spider-Man that was 1,000 Spider-Mans in a Spider-Man suit. 9 out of 10 Spider-Mans.
Oh, really? Did you say there's 10,000 spiders in a Spider-Man suit?
No, there is. That came from one of the Spider-Verse comics. It was a bunch of spiders that wore a suit. But 0 to 10 spiders, man. Joe, you first.
Though I prefer the first one, though I know that there's faults with this movie. Again, don't like how it ends. I know, broke a record. Still a 10. It's totally still an achievement. If this, first off, this thing's gonna win the Oscar for best animated film.
Oh God, yes.
I'm rooting for it. Let's see it for best picture. Let's just see it. Let's be brave for once, Academy. Okay.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this is an achievement on multiple levels.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the 10 for 10 as well. Again, the animated films don't always really blow me away. In Spider-Man, live action films don't always blow me away. You know what I mean? Yeah. But this one did. This was great. And again, Miles was not the Spider-Man that I grew up with, simply because I grew up reading Spider-Man in the 80s, but I love it now. It's just this to me really feels like this is how a real teenager would deal with real teenage angsty stuff, and then having the weight of the multiverse on his shoulders. I thought it was fantastic. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I hate to be a follower, but I'm going with this. It's not a perfect film, and a 10 out of 10 is not a perfect film. To me, though, it's a movie that I didn't want to stop. Yeah. I could have sat for 5 hours, although I'd have to pee multiple times. So that may be my only pick. There was no great place to take a pee.
I did.
When can I go pee?
I think I ended up going twice, and because I'm there seeing it with April, if I miss something, I could say, "God, what I miss?" And
so maybe a 9.9 then, because
9.9 for no pee break. So
but
cool.
No 10. Yeah.
This has been awesome. Well, unless I'm very much mistaken, that is the end of the program. Joey Jojo Jr. Shabadoo. That's a Simpsons reference.
That's my name.
I love it. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Where do people find you out there?
Of course, you can find me over on the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where usually each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. But this week, the week of the 5th, we are going to be one day late. So the audio show will be arriving on that Friday, because we are reacting live to the Summer Games Showcase 2023. So come join us in the live chat. We're going to probably have more games to give away and things to celebrate as we see more games be announced. I'm super pumped for Cyberpunk 2077. Phantom Liberty, Alan Wake 2 looks phenomenal. And who knows? Maybe we'll see some Spider-Man there. Who knows?
Ooh, I like it.
Probably get that Final Fantasy 16 demo though. But hey, all that more. Find me there. And at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You know where.
You know that Twitter.
The best PlayStation podcast with essentially the composite duplicate clones of Tenacious D. You and Kyle should be Tenacious D.
Oh my gosh.
You should.
So,
please tell Kyle that. That's great.
That is so crazy. Todd, what about, where do people find you out there?
I'm texting him that now.
At the Oxtra is for all things Todd that is not related to SFU, although I love to talk about SFU on Twitter. But for everything else, go to Secret Friends. I don't have to tell you all those things because if you listen to this podcast, but if you haven't, at Secret Friends U on Twitter, secretfriendsunite.com is our website for all things Secret Friends for all our content, and our Patreon, which we've already talked about. Get a 1-week free trial and check it out and let us what you think. And hopefully you'll become a Patreon at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Unless you go to Charlie's Pattern.com, and then that's his OnlyFans page.
That E and R really hits me up. Well, you can find me over on Twitter at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out. As always, my lovely wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey, one of the largest chapters of the Star Trek International Fan Club in the world. I'm also the regional coordinator for Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice in those places or even somewhere else, drop us a line at our website of that same name and we will help you find Trekkers where you are. So with that, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Chai tea is like saying TT.
Coffee.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.